Hello, hi. I'm David Ortega, Director of Parent Services and Communications, and welcome to our first Facebook Live of this fall semester. We want to welcome Chief Margo Bennett from UC Police Department. She's going to give us a little bit about information about what's going on campus and how she's keeping UC Berkeley students safe. So without further delay, I'd like to ask Chief Bennett to come on up and also give us a little bit about herself and also how the department's doing and all that good stuff. So we're looking forward to Chief Margo Bennett.
Thanks, Dave. David, I really do appreciate the invitation to come before the group and answer some of your questions and talk to you a little bit about UCPD and some of the work that we're doing with the students and on the campus. I've been here for 16 years. I've been the chief for 5 years. Prior experience, I was in the FBI for 13 years. I was at West Georgia University for 6 years. I was at Northern Virginia Community College as their chief. All in all, I've got over 40 years of experience in law enforcement. Enough for my children to tell me I should be considering retiring, but I tell you, I'm just so committed to this Cal environment that's a far piece of my thinking. I can tell you a little bit about our department. We have 57 sworn officers, 25 security guards, a dispatch center that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, detectives, we have motor officers, bike officers. Biggest thing that I want you to take away is that we have student employees that do great work for us. They are our community service officers. We refer to them as CSOs. We have about 70 of them in the department. And they're all great groups of young adults that we find to be totally committed to some of the safety programs that we have. So I see we have a question about how are things going on campus. I just had a meeting today with some higher level administrators and even everyday folks walking around. We all are saying that this year has a different tone to it. This year, compared to last year, is really kind of amazing. It's this time last year we had a lot of political tension going on our campus as well as in the city of Berkeley. And this year it's like the students have come in with some fresh thoughts, fresh thinking, having fun, but at the same time getting to their university work that they're anxious about doing and doing well. For our department, we are realizing that last year with the political events that were happening in the month of September, we wound up bringing a lot of external police officers into the campus. Now, it had the good benefit of making the campus environment safe and controlled during those two major events. But the downside of it was that some of our students, frankly, were a little intimidated by the number of police officers, a little intimidated by the equipment that they were wearing, and we have some relationship shoring that we are really strong about doing this year. So far, I have met with the ASUC. I've met with a couple of subgroups from the ASUC. I'm working with some other chiefs that I know in the area to do some community building within the police department and the student body and the staff. And we're anxious to have good things happening and to stretch our hand out this year and really build on those relationships. I'm also a member of President Napolitano's Presidential Task Force on college policing in our communities. And we're discussing things like making sure our complaint process is similar on all the campuses, also making sure it fits within the law and the guidelines that the state of California has built. We are talking about advisory boards and setting up a stronger, a firmer collaboration from the community members. So we're going to start moving on that pretty quickly, definitely by the end of the semester. We have a good partnership with UCPD and between UCPD and Berkeley PD. Chief Greenwood and I will talk and text on a number of different occasions. We have scheduled monthly meetings for breakfast. I think we'll be moving that to lunch to see if we can find a little different restaurant to go to perhaps. But we know that anytime an event's happening on our campus or is happening in the city of Berkeley, our two entities are both going to be impacted by that. So we begin collaboration early, and we're talking on a weekly basis as events are coming forward. I know the city of Berkeley had an event just this last month, and we were at the table with them, and we had officers that were ready and able to respond to anything on campus. Nothing did happen on campus, but we wound up helping the city of Berkeley in their city. So I see there's a question about safety and what should parents know that the university is doing to keep their students safe. As I mentioned before, we have the CSOs that work for us, and their primary responsibility is to actually deliver those safety plans and safety programs that we have. They do bike registrations so that should anything unexpected happen to your student's bike, we have a serial number that we can put into property theft systems, and we also have a way of returning a bike if we find one. We have a very robust bear walk program. I don't like to call it an escort program, but I do like to call it a safety program because that's the purpose of it. Students are encouraged to download the app on their phone and to get in touch with the program, set up a time for an escort to come and meet with them and walk them to their residence. And that works within a 5 to 6 block radius of the campus. So we're hitting most of the students for that distance around our campus. And then after our students go off at 2 a.m., they start at dusk and finish their walks at 2 a.m., then the shuttle system kicks in a door-to-door shuttle program that goes until 6 a.m. So we're encouraging all of the students to not be out walking by yourself in the middle of the night. We give safety presentations. We talk about put the iPhone away, make sure you secured your residence halls when you leave them. Don't be walking down the street looking at your phone and not being aware of what's going on around you. Get the earbuds out of your ears and do those things to help yourself take control of your own safety. So I think we have some specific questions that were asked by the parents. One was addressing the volume of grab-and-run robberies that were out of the coffee shops on the campus last year. Yes, certainly those were in private businesses, but one in particular is right across the street. A lot of students tend to congregate there. We worked with the City of Berkeley Police Department. They handle that jurisdiction because it is a City of Berkeley business and is not part of the university. However, we're right here, and so we have a pretty quick response to the area. I know in February we started having a rash of that, and we were able to make some arrests. Both our department and Berkeley PD made arrests in those cases, and I think we've had 1 or 2 so far this fall, but not a rash of them like we had back in the spring. Surveillance video was up and helped with the arrest of some of those perpetrators, and usually when there's surveillance cameras up, that does mitigate some of the attractiveness of coming into the local places. There's a question about diversity and how our officers create an environment where students feel safe to approach them. We're police officers. We have our jurisdictional powers that are granted by the legislation and through the regents. We're certified police officers in the state of California. The Peace Officers Standards and Training Council are the ones who dictate the minimum standards for police officers. We meet all of those. Now, because of that, we look like police officers. We're cops, and we come across that way just simply by the tools that we have to carry. Many of the officers actually wear what we call vests that are weight-bearing vests, and it takes the weight off their hips and puts it on their chest and on their shoulders. Those may not look the greatest and the softest to approach an officer, but they're actually a risk mitigation factor that reduces lower back problems from carrying all that weight on your hips and on your back. And so we've got to figure out a way of how our officers can feel warm, fuzzy, and approachable, but at the same time have their tools that they need should something serious happen at our campus. We are setting up through the student body, working with the ASUC and the Black Student Union and some other different groups, some not town halls, but discussion forums. We want our officers going in plain clothes. We're going to do some circle work to get our officers talking about themselves as human beings and, their kids and where they live and how they act as people versus as cops, and some of our students to share the same sort of information about themselves. And I'll be honest with you, taking advice from our chancellor, who knows the best way to build relationships is actually, in her phrase, it's shoe leather. It's get out there and make contact with the people and do it the best way you know how to do it. There's another question about what do you do if your student witnesses or is the victim of a crime? What's the best way to report it? Every student should have programmed into their cell phone 642-3333. It's area code 510-642-3333. That means that call is going to come into our communications center as a 911 call. Certainly, if you dial 911, you're going to go to any police department that the tower closest to you represents. We encourage our population here to avoid having that problem where it goes to Berkeley and then gets transferred over to us. Instead, program 642-3333 into your phone. It comes directly to us as a 911 call. If you witness a crime, if you're a victim of the crime, the sooner you report it, the sooner we can work on solving the problem that's occurred. Another parent has talked about the incident we had a couple of weeks ago where we had a false alarm of an active shooter on the campus. It was in the middle of the day. And they were asking about the source of the mix-up and the protocols in place for active shooter. We had received, right at the same time, 2 different calls. One was a call about an individual wearing khaki shorts and a black shirt with a gun strapped to his hip on his right side. The other call was about an individual, different clothing, but acting very loud and aggressive in the same location. Those were actually 2 separate things that were occurring at the same time. We responded as an active shooter situation. Our officers are all trained in that area. The city of Berkeley responded with officers to secure the area while we were in the building searching the areas. It was through our contacts with some of the citizenry that we were finding as we went through the Cesar Chavez building that we discovered a Loomis employee had been accepting cash pickups that particular day, and the markings on their jackets are not really that clear. We were able to confirm with the business that yes, indeed, they had a driver that was doing pickups that day. We had a photograph of the individual, and that was positively identified. So it was over with pretty quick. Proper protocols are that we deploy right away. We go in, we search for the individual, we get people out when we see them, and that we debrief afterwards to make sure that we responded to it in the correct way. We encourage all of the departments on the campus and the res halls and individual student groups to have us come in and do a presentation on active shooter response. You know, it's easy enough for us to say run, hide, fight, but there's actually more to it than that, and more mental preparation that's involved in that. So you should ask your student, have they seen that presentation by UCPD? And if they haven't, you know, what kind of group do they belong to that we can come in and just do a 1 hour presentation that will help answer the question people have of, what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to run. You're supposed to hide if you can, if you can't run. And frankly, if you've got no choice but to go face to face with the individual, there's some tips on how to strategize your attack to be more of a positive outcome. So I know there's other questions that have come in. This is a question about the arrest that was made last week. A UC Berkeley campus employee was arrested. It was an employee out of our Environment, Health and Safety office. He was arrested for several sexual assaults in the Sacramento area. UCPD was approached on Thursday by Sacramento police when they were executing a search warrant in the individual's office. We were as surprised as anyone else. We really did not know and had no idea what the charges were against the individual. They did tell us they had placed him under arrest. It wasn't until Friday, right before the Sacramento police had a press conference, that we learned of the charges against him. And we really have played a minimal role in this. No investigation has been done by us. Sacramento PD had a press conference where they laid out how they connected him to the crimes. It's all DNA connection. We do not have any open sexual assault cases that we know of that are the same MO or the same demographics of the victims that he was selecting. We are certainly searching through all of our open cases to determine that. I've spoken with the district attorney's office. They are very supportive. If we have any questions or have any cases that need to be run through their office again, we have been a resource for people to talk with. And if anyone has any information about that, they should reach out to us or reach out to our Office of Prevention of Harassment and Discrimination, and that's our Title IX officer. Regarding background checks on campus employees, since 2004, our campus has had a pretty robust policy of fingerprinting individuals that have sensitive jobs, and sensitive jobs means you handle money, you handle monetary transactions, you have access to places where people work and live, you're handling things that are of a volatile nature. And this particular individual was hired in 1992, so the fingerprint policy was not in place at that time. Again, I encourage anyone who might have any information about this individual to give us a call. Our phone number is area code 510-642-6760. It's 510-642-6760, or you can email us at police@berkeley.edu. There was a question about the Milo Yiannopoulos protest in the spring of 2017 and an improvement on the campus's response to free speech protests. Wanting to know what tactics have been successful reducing violence or extremists on both sides. And I'll be very frank with you about this. This is something that we were stunned with the level of violence that occurred on February 1st of 2017. We had an event shortly after that, a couple of months after that, where Ann Coulter had indicated she was coming, and the rhetoric was ramping up again about bringing violence to the campus. We didn't have that event occur, and there was also a Horowitz events that did not occur on the campus. But when we got the information that fall semester was going to begin with Shapiro coming in and talking, and Milo returning during Free Speech Week, we started paying attention to some of the social media information that was out there, listening and hearing that, again, we were going to be challenged with activity on the campus. I had meetings with a number of administrators on the campus, including the chancellor. We talked about how important it was that these events go off. And the importance of it is because this is Cal. This is the University of California. Free speech is part of our DNA. It's in our bloodline. We could not have events shut down simply because people don't want to listen to it. That's what free speech is all about, being able to say what you want to say without violence and without harm and without having the heckler's veto, be a part of it. We needed to be content neutral and ensure that these events occurred. The chancellor was very supportive of the plan that we put together and very supportive of the influence that we had to have on the campus in order to ensure that these events occurred without violence occurring on our campus like we saw during February of 2017. I will tell you, we had a lot of visitors from other institutions. Florida was here. Michigan was here. We've talked to several other universities that have since come to pick our brains on how we did this. And some of the response is being called the Berkeley template that we came up with. And it's at a high cost. There's absolutely no way you can do this without the investment put into it. We had a lot of police officers here. We needed to know we had enough to do the job, whether the job created problems in the city of Berkeley or on our campus. We coordinated tremendously with county agencies. We had Cal State police officers come in and help us, as well as a number of agencies throughout the state. And we were able to really control the environment enough to let these events occur. Of course, the Free Speech Week kind of fell apart as we were approaching that time. But the Shapiro event was quite a good event. I felt like, we had a number of students that said I felt traumatized by the number of police officers, but I also had a number of students and staff saying, wow, I really do feel safe. I do feel safe while this is going on. So it was through very strategic work that we were able to have those events on the campus, and we're prepared to do it again if we need to. And we're also prepared to go and help our sister system-wide campuses, because I understand a few of them are going to have some controversial speakers and major events on campus. Question about alcohol-related citations. Noticing that the citations and the arrests are down through the early part of the school year. A lot of that is attributed to the work that some significant individuals on the campus have been doing for the past couple of years. Our risk office has led a team that is out there promoting safe drinking, working with the fraternities, with the sororities, with the Lead Center on having events that are safe to go to. We have had a difference in last year and the year before in where our students enter the football venue, which has in the past been problematic. It seems to have reduced the congregation of students that have been drinking before the game. We are committed to alcohol safety programs. Both housing and the Tang Center and student conduct have taken a pretty straightforward line in trying to educate our students, and that does seem to be helpful. That does seem to be helpful for them. So I think there's another question. I know we have 5 minutes left. There was a question about armed robberies at Clark Kerr. That event occurred on City of Berkeley property, which reminds me that there is a question about how is the jurisdiction divided here. I mean, we do have, we're located in an urban environment, and the city streets border our campus. There's actually 2 blocks between our campus and our residential halls for the units, and then Clark Kerr, of course, is a little further out. Our officers have jurisdiction on any Regent property. That means we have statewide jurisdiction. We can go anywhere there's university property, and University of California, Berkeley happens to have a lot of property in this area. Technically speaking, we have a mile off the campus, and of course the city's got jurisdiction right up to the campus, and we work together to make this a workable venue. I mean, the city police frankly know that we're going to be able to get to the fraternities and the sororities before they can, and the fraternities and sororities are private properties, so they're in the city of Berkeley. We work together, and we hand off cases smoothly between one another to make this work. Another question has to do with homelessness around the campus. If you've been on the campus, you certainly know that that's a presence about us like you see in many other urban environments. The closure that's been announced of People's Park and the building plans for People's Park, there's some concern that it could displace hundreds of homeless into the neighborhoods. We have been talking with the neighbors in the area and with the City of Berkeley. Our Government Affairs Office is making close contact with the city political leaders. The campus and the chancellor has identified a lead individual, Sam Davis. He's a faculty member who is formulating the plan for the scenarios, and frankly it involves building housing, having services for the homeless, including the mental health services that are needed, and also having a section of the park dedicated as an ongoing respect for the park-like venue. And for people who are approached by transients on the campus, I tell them, just say no thanks. Just no thanks and walk away. It is something they're going to see, but they should feel confident that there's no hostility there. And many of them do have mental health issues that need to be addressed by professionals and not by common conversation. We do have a system in place. The last question is, how are students notified about potentially dangerous situations? There's a program called Warn Me. You can find it just by going into warnme.berkeley.edu. Anybody who's got a berkeley.edu email address is loaded into the Warn Me system. We encourage people to go into their profile and give us a cell phone so they can accept SMS messaging. The police department, the public affairs, and the chancellor's office all have the ability to put out immediate warnings, and that's the primary way we do it. We have an alert and warning system with sirens and loudspeakers around the campus. Warn Me is the primary way we do it. We have some connection with RSSP in that we have a sergeant who is our liaison with housing. He is responsible, that position is responsible for training all of the security monitors at the residential halls, for making sure any issues at the res halls are dealt with in a timely fashion, for putting in the security cameras, working on the door locking system to get metal keys out of our students' hands so that their IDs are their ticket to get in and out. If you have any questions about this at all, please Feel free to email me at police@berkeley.edu. You can call me at 642-6760. Both of those. That phone number has got a 510 area code, 510-642-6760. And I think that signs us off for the night. Thank you for letting me be here. And I certainly do want to say we've got a great football team this year. So go Bears, and let's have a good time. Thank you.